Hey you, that was a really good call you just did there. Believe me, that was a sick introduction to cold call. And we want to use this momentum that you just built to go from the introduction to the main part of the cold call. And what is the main part? The main part for you is really where you want to find out more about them, about the problems they're having, who else is involved, and how you can eventually help them. Now, you want to move from the introduction to the main part by doing one thing with your tone, and it is from going from being interesting to being interested. So you're gonna use a lot the tone of voice of I really care. And you're also gonna use something that we didn't explicitly talk about, but which is obvious when you speak about questions, which is going up higher. Oh, really? Or why is that? To really show that you're interested. You're gonna do a lot of active listening, meaning, as a review, you wanna have, if you're in front of them, good body language, active listening skills, and a good tonality. Now, all of that will help you to basically go, hopefully have established rapport, and you really go now into this intelligence gathering. With this intelligence that you have, you will then set the appointment and close on an appointment date. Now let's jump into this process, which is really crucial, which is the qualifying. And again, we talked about this in the beginning of the sales rules, which is be a good listener, and it really comes in here. So most of the salespeople, especially when they just start off, with all this energy, and they find it very difficult to then actually shut up and just listen to them and be interested in what they have to say. Now, to make sure that you don't make this mistake, there's a few very simple ways, and this is really just question words. What, why, who, how. All of that is going to be important. And there's really a few things here that you need to make sure that you have it. And one of them is that you're actually getting answers to your questions. Now, why is that so important? It is really, if you have good questions and they answer to you, you are really in control. And control is what you will need if you want to have an appointment later on, because otherwise, if they run the show, it's going to be much more difficult to do that. So, the way you ask those questions is that you get an answer, and also it's very important that you actually do get an answer, because if you don't get an answer, you lose control of the sales process. And as soon as you lose control of it, they are driving it, and that's very bad for the outcome, because then you might not get your appointment. So make sure you get answers. Now, how do you do that? Well, you get answers by simply asking again. So, for example, you say, "Hi, my name is Stefan, yours?" And the guy doesn't answer and just starts talking. I was like, "Excuse me, sir, your name, please." "My name is Stefan." So you always smile, you have a great attitude, but you make sure that you really get your questions answered. Very important here. Now, the qualifying step in the cold calling process is kind of a lighter version of the big qualifying, because now you're just setting an appointment to give your sales presentation. Later on in the process, you will actually give the real sales presentation, and at that time, you will have a much bigger version of this qualifying. Here you just want to get the basics down. The basics being the what, the why, and the who. What, basically, what problem are they having? Why? Well, why is this a problem to them? And maybe how much of a problem is it? We're going to speak about it in a second. And then the who. The who is really who else is involved in the decision. I told you in an earlier segment that in a big company of more than 500 people, you usually have up to 7 people involved in a decision. So what you want to really do is the what, the why, and the who. And really, you can be creative on that. There is a few questions that work better than others. I'm going to give you an exact set of questions that are proven to work well. So in general, you want to start with the kind of broader, easier questions and then nail down more and more specific, which is a theory also in persuasion that basically means you start out easy and it gets more and more complicated, something that lawyers, for example, use a lot when they are questioning the opposite party. Anyways, for our purpose, the what is really the key here, and I want to give you a few tips now on how exactly you can use that. Hey, what is the biggest challenge that you're seeing right now when considering, and now, whatever it is? And then they're gonna say, well, oh, well, and it's like, oh, really? Why is that? You know, with this questioning tone of voice. Again, very important to use the right tonality and to be an active listener. Another way to do this is actually to think back or make them think back of a situation where they have bought a similar product. And trust me, there are so many products out there. Everybody has had some sort of experience with similar products, or maybe exactly the same products. So because it's something everybody has, and it's so simple to talk about that rather than kind of think of abstractly of what is my biggest problem right now. It's a very good way to actually get an answer on seeing what is important for them right now. What you could say is this: hey, last time you purchased something like this, what was the most important element to it for you, or the most important feature, benefit, whatever you are basically selling? Is it a service? Is it a good? And then they're gonna say something that's really, why is that? What you could also say is, hey, last time you purchased a similar product, what was most important for you in that? What did you like most? What didn't you like? So all of these just ways to talking about, a prior purchase that gives you much more information about what it is really that they're looking for. We move from the what and the why to another area that's most of the times forgotten by most salespeople, which is the who. You actually want to find out who else is involved here. Who's the decision maker? Is it them? Is it somebody else? And you want to make sure that you're able to get to all of the decision makers, and you have a good picture who's actually the very important ones. Because even in a decision where 7 people are involved, they're not going to be all involved in the same way. But one person is going to be stronger than another one. There's a whole lot of questions I will probably teach in one of the follow-up courses to this that you can make to find this out. But one of the easiest and best ways to do this is by simply saying this: hey, who else would be involved in influencing or making a decision on a project like this? Oh, really? Who else? Who else? What's their standing in the company? To get a better feeling of, okay, who is now on the plate? Because in the end, this is a persuasion game. Remember, sales is a persuasion game, and you need to identify the right people to persuade and make sure, now that you're with them in this call, when they say, well, it's actually my boss who's going to make the decision. You're not going to be like, oh, cool, can I speak to your boss? Because it's going to sound really, really bad. Even if the boss is the decision maker, they are still an influencer. So you want to make sure that you have them on board. Now, if you find out the what, the why, and the who, you are a good listener, then you can say you're successful in this stage, and you will be able to move on to setting the appointment